Well, you're listening to the Power of Voices radio station here. And of course, this is Greg Bell. I'm coming to you live from Detroit today. A little bit different, doing some business out of town. So I figured I'd go live for you guys and have a little fun, talk a little sports. Got so many people in Las Vegas dealing with the crisis that we have there. Actually, I actually got a text earlier today that a couple of citizens that I know from Santa Barbara were there, and we actually lost a dear friend of ours there, Dawn. I'm gonna think of Dawn's last name. She's one of the kind of those socialites that hangs out in Santa Barbara, has a lot of fun. But she's one of the many of the 59 that lost their life this past weekend, and it's just amazing to think how far we've come. And you start thinking of 9/11. Of course, the casualties were hundreds and thousands more. But it's shocking to think that a person could do what this gentleman did in the course of a matter of an hour. When you really think about the time lapse, your heart just goes out to everyone in Las Vegas. Las Vegas at one time was one of my stomping grounds where I used to have the Let's Talk Football radio show there on Saturdays and Sundays right after I retired. But man, you got to just wonder. The crisis relief right now is coming from all the surrounding states, from Utah, California, Mexico, New Mexico, I should say, Arizona. And there's just so much that's going to be needed over the next hours, minutes, days, weeks, months. These people are going through so much crisis. Our hearts pour out to them. Um, it's one of those things where, this is what true patriotism is. You see people coming from all walks of life, from everywhere, doing what they should be doing, which is really supporting these people with everything they need, from blood to some of them need to just know where their loved ones are. So our hearts are going to go out to them. And if you got something you want to tell me about, say about it, your thoughts about it. It's kind of crazy, because I'm over here on the West Coast, and for me to read some of the things that I'm seeing coming up on social media. There's one thing I want to make sure that everybody understands. The world continues to move, even though these people are going through some traumatic things. Let's remember that that's what they're going through, some very dramatic, some life-changing moments that many of us will never, ever deal with in our lifetime. Excuse me. We'll never deal with it in a lifetime. And to be put in this situation that this shooter has put so many people in. I think I read today it's somewhere close to 520 plus on the injured list, and many of those are in trauma unit 1 injured list. And so, they're going through some major crises over in Las Vegas right now. Keep your prayers for those people, and don't start it's amazing. I hate to smile with this, but man, today has been one of those days where it's turned into a JFK conspiracy theory. So much is being said and so much is being done. Here's where we as people have to do the number one thing is be patient, leave it alone. You weren't there. Step back, allow the police to do what they need to do, and allow them to go and create the scenario that is necessary for them to do what their job requires them to do, which is to find that, hopefully that this guy was the lone shooter who rigged his 2 rooms up to do what he actually did and create mass murder. I've seen stuff on the internet that you can't even believe some of the stuff. People tend to forget, and I forgot that, how would you shoot through those glass panes unless they were broken out? So you hear the reports that there were shots being fired from down at the lower level. Well, remember, the glass has to be gone on that lower level as well. And from all that I've seen over the past 24 hours is that The only windows that were broken out in the Mandalay Bay were up on the 32nd floor. So, there's a lot of videos. The one thing that's great about technology and today's world is that uh, we have so much technology. So we know somewhere we're going to find somebody who has a better angle, a better seat, or a better recording view of the Mandalay Bay, so we can kind of timeline it and see and know. And the police are going to do their best, and I think they'll come down with some kind of understanding of what and why and how this all occurred. Probably the most amazing thing, and I don't know if many of you thought about this, is how did he get so many bags up through security? The cameras caught him with all these bags. Did they not wonder? I mean, that's where you kind of scratch your head a little bit and go, didn't they think for a second maybe this guy was doing something illegal with all these duffel bags going up, going up? I think I heard it was like 10 duffel bags. Well, if he got those bags, there's got to be something wrong. At some point, you got to wonder or question what the heck is going on, and you maybe follow him a little bit better. I heard the reports that possibly he had cameras in the hallway so he could see the police coming down. He could record that as well as record himself in the room itself. So a lot of craziness, guys, just a lot of craziness. But we definitely want to take our hat and bow down. This is where taking the knees really make a difference, and give a lot of prayer for the people in Las Vegas right about now. They need our prayers, all of our prayers. No political agenda, no racial agenda, no bias agenda whatsoever. Just let's give a lot of prayer to the people in Las Vegas. Just so much going on. Hey, got to talk a little sports. I mean, that is what the show should be around, right? Of course, I'm your host, Greg Bell. You're listening to the Legends Community Show here on thepowervoices.com. A lot going on. As we came on the air, the Yankees are up, or they're actually tied right now in the bottom of the second. Of course, many of you guys know I'm a big Yankee guy. Minnesota Twins and Yankees are battling out for the wild card right now. Colorado and Arizona will start their game tomorrow. In some action for some of you guys who just need to know, the basketball preseason started today. And of course, Brooklyn's up 87-72 right now. Chicago's down to New Orleans 69-58. Houston is trailing right now. Oh, they're actually up on OKC 59-52. And of course, the Phoenix and Portland game will get started a little later tonight. Wanted to go through some scores from many of you guys from the games this past weekend. I don't know how many of you guys were watching, but the time has come in Chicago. So much was talked about this preseason about Mitch Trubisky. He will get his start next Monday night. The number one draft pick for the Bears will be put into action next week as they lose to Green Bay 35-14. I don't know if any of you guys saw the New Orleans and Miami game, but what's going on with Miami? I mean, this team is so fickle right now. One week they're up, the next week it don't even seem like the same team. Cutler kind of looks like Cutler, but New Orleans beat Miami yesterday 20-0. And this Miami team didn't look like the same Miami team we've seen over the past 3 weeks. And that's one of those things where that's about leadership right there, making sure and that's on the head coach just as much as it is on Cutler. But that's about leadership, keeping these guys motivated, up, ready, prepared. You got to be prepared, guys. This is the National Football League. This isn't that little high school league around the corner where, you get up for 1 week, down for another. You got 16 weeks of a season. You got a bye in between there. You've got to be prepared to play every single week. And for whatever the reason, Cutler always finds himself in the middle of that kind of arena where his teams just aren't being led the right way. And I think that's one of the biggest biases that you'll find on Jay Cutler. He's just above the cut, The Yankees, if you're listening and you're a big Yankee fan like myself as well, they're up 4-3 right now, bottom of the second. Also, Cincinnati finally gets their first win, beating, of course, the lonely Cleveland Browns 31-7. Buffalo Downs Atlanta 23-17. to 17, and that was a shocker for me. Julio Jones left the game first quarter. He has a hip injury right now. The extent of it, don't know right now, but Buffalo comes in, gets a major win over the Atlanta Falcons, who were 3-0 coming into that game. And if you watch that game, the defense took everything away from the Atlanta Falcons. And this has probably been one of the most potent offenses in the NFL so far this year. The Atlanta Falcons, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, they've dominated from a receiving rushing standpoint. And they've just been a very, very productive offense. And Matt Ryan has just been tenacious. But this week in Atlanta, home opener, the second game they played in the beautiful Mercedes Dome, and Buffalo took it to them so bad that after the game, I don't know if any of you guys seen it, but Shady McCoy put it to the reporters like you wouldn't put it to the reporters. He basically said, come on in this locker room and talk to the victors. You guys said all week long we had no chance. This is going to be a blowout. And Shady McCoy gets the upper hand on all of them like I said, it's Buffalo 23 and the Atlanta Falcons came away 17 with the first loss of the season for Detroit. Now my heart failed this week because one of my silent killers on my fantasy football team was Devontae Cook. This running back from Florida State has been balling all year long, and he blew his anterior cruciating ligament in his knee out, killed the Minnesota Vikings. This is a team that's already without their quarterback. They let Adrian Peterson go. They've had some injuries at the receiver and the line. They are being decimated by injuries right now. The Detroit Lions put a 14-7 win over them. Good for the Lions. They also 3-1. They're a lot of teams that are surprising people are like the Buffalo Bills, the Los Angeles Rams, the Detroit Lions, as well as, of course, if you didn't know, Carolina Panthers put one on the defending Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. And I got to tell you, a week ago we talked about the fact that Cam Newton seemed like he still might be a little, not tentative, but he might be still a little hurt. And coming into this game, no one was sure what we were going to see out of Cam Newton. But one thing is for sure, Cam Newton's back and he's 100%. Not only did he run the ball with decisiveness and no hesitation, but he threw the ball extremely well. His arm seems to have the zip that it had 2 years ago when he took him to the Super Bowl. And man, no one at this point in the equation, think about it. How many of you guys can sit here and say you knew that the New England Patriots were going to be 2-2 at this point in the season? Think about it. How many of us have said to ourselves, "Oh man, they'll be 2-2"? Everybody's already been saying this is going to be. Will the Patriots lose a game all season long? Could they be beat? Well, we found out pretty early on that this New England Patriots team is truly beatable. And Tom Brady, we've talked about it earlier in the year, turning 40 years old, you're playing football in the National Football League. Most of you guys probably haven't heard one of the biggest stats that I think I caught earlier this morning is that Tom Brady has already been sacked. Now, we're only talking about 4 games now that they've played, but he's already been sacked over 15 times. He's on the pace right now to have 52 sacks. Last year, he was sacked 13 times the entire season. That one quick arm guy that we talked about all season long, he delivers the ball out of his arm so quickly you don't get an opportunity to come in and sack him. All of a sudden, Tom Brady sacked over 15 times, and we've only got through the first quarter of the season. As I said, he's on pace right now to go and have 52 sacks for the season. Will this be that nail in the coffin, like so many people said, when you hit that age of 40, can he still have the effectiveness that he had so many years now? He's in year 16. He's playing with the enthusiasm. He's drinking, I think it was like 300 gallons of water a day. His avocado mixed salad, or Tom's got this great health program that we all should be on. I know I could use it about right now, but He's drinking all this water. He's doing all these things to keep his body well tuned and young. But does it really matter? That's going to be a question that so many people are going to have to ask. Bill Polian, who's probably one of the foremost former GMs from the Bills years and with the Indianapolis Colts, basically he came out at the beginning of the year and said the number 40 is that's that breaking point where they're opt to let guys go on about their way. They're allowing guys to leave and maybe it's time to trade this guy, make him into a backup. But they've reached that number 40, and Tom Brady is starting to show some signs, many people think, right about now, that maybe this is the calling towards the end. I don't know. You tell me, guys. You tell me what you think about that. 40, is that the number for Tom Brady and guys like Drew Brees? You're listening to the Legends Community Show right here on thepowervoices.com. I'm your host, Greg Bell. Guys, there's just so much on the sports world that's going on. I know I want to talk to some of you basketball enthusiasts. Of course, the basketball season start. They've been making so much about LeBron's, comment toward Donald Trump, his T-shirt, even Marshawn Lynch's T-shirt, anti-Trump T-shirts that a lot of guys are sporting right about now. But there's just a lot of basketball going on. Some other stories that I want to talk about. Of course, I'm sure if you're into the NBA, you've heard about LeVar Ball. So much controversy being circled around him and his dad, Lonzo Ball, I should say, and his dad, LeVar Ball. Well, LeVar, he's kind of stepped way, way, way over the line right about now. I don't know if many of you guys have heard the news story about what's going on in Chino, California, but Lattimore, former basketball player at the University of Notre Dame, one of Mike Bray's assistants, decided he would take over the job now of Chino High School basketball coach. And I don't know where these two have ever crossed paths, but evidently LeVar Ball doesn't care too much for Lattimore. And he's decided, instead of allowing him to play ball for Chino Hills High School, as he's done for the past 2 years, won a state championship with his older brother, instead of going into his third year, allowing him to play again, he's decided that he's going to homeschool his son and continue to tutor him on his basketball game solely by his dad. And I want to know what you guys think about that. Tell me what you think about LeVar Ball and this move that he's decided to make, pulling his son out of the high school, homeschooling him. Of course, you already know they've got a reality show. So Hanging with the Balls or something like that. I can't remember the name of the show, but we're at that point now where he's starting to make some really outlandish decisions. I mean, would you pull? I don't care. Let me say it this way. Before I say, would you pull your son? If you were a decent basketball player, and yeah, you helped to be a club coach and you've been teaching these kids all your years, do you really want to get to be known for that, to being that guy? That guy who believes he's above everything. And that's really where LeVar has taken himself. Nothing against Lonzo. Lonzo's a great kid. They're in the Inland Empire. Many of you know I've got Athletes for Life in the Inland Empire, so I've seen this family grow. I've seen them play. They all three have some great basketball skills. I won't take anything away from LeVar and his coaching ability. Or his fatherhood. I mean, if there's one positive thing that comes out of this whole thing, many people don't know his wife, who had major surgery and had major chemo surgery and major surgery just to help her get back on her feet. She's going through complete rehabilitation right about now. And LeVar has continued to be the father holding down this front. So my hat tips to him. He's there with his kids. This isn't a fatherless family here. This isn't a single parent home. He's there. The mother's there. Like I said, the mother's going through great catastrophic health issues right now. And LeVar's held it down for his sons and for his family. So my hat tips to him at that point. But is he going a little too far with what he's doing with his sons and the pressure he's putting on LaMelo, on Lonzo? Of course, LaMelo enters. He's already entered UCLA. So much is being talked about because the question is UCLA going to be If they allow him to play with this reality show, if he gets paid, that's a job. They don't allow that with an NCAA scholarship. Just so much. It's just so much circling about the Ball family right now. Has he kind of stepped over the line? What do you think? You tell me right here. I see a lot of people chiming in. Tell me what you think about LeVar Ball, and not necessarily about his fatherly skills, but this has probably been one of the big nemesis that I've told so many people that I have a problem with is the club world. You become a club coach, and these kids are paying you to teach them and to mentor them to get them to get that college scholarship. Has LeVar Ball kind of gone over? We know what happened to him this summer, and if you don't remember, I'll give you kind of the short of the story. He didn't like the way the officials were calling the game, so he just took the team and said, "Pack up your stuff, we're out of here." He stopped and pulled the team off the floor, and then 2 days later, the referee was fired by, I believe it was Nike. So, or no, that was a Adidas tournament that they were at, and then they reprimanded the official and fired the official and said he was being a little too one-sided. But do you want to allow LeVar to become that much of a presence in the club world? That's the question that so many people have asked, and now, of course, he's taking his son out of a school. He's going to homeschool him. My probably number one question is, what are you doing to this kid's game? Part of being in high school is that be part of that team, part of that camaraderie. And you pull a kid away from that, what is that going to do to the kid? How is that what kind of image is the father creating for that kid at the next level? He's secluding him. Is he putting him on a pedestal? He talks about this being the son that can probably be the best of all. I want to know what you guys think about that. You're listening to the Legends Show here on the Power of Voices. I'm your host, Greg Bell. Just a lot of sports we're talking about here. We're going to try and jump in. I'm bouncing around a little bit, having a little fun while I'm here on the road. Of course, we've already had our chance to talk about Las Vegas. I gave you my issues. Just keep it at the heart, guys. Don't make any finger pointing and things of that nature. This is not political. It's not racial. This is where we come together as Americans, and we, from a heartstring, we show that this is what makes us Americans more so than any country around. This is where true patriotism comes from, when you're willing to support and save those who you don't know and could really care less if you know them or not. You just know you want to be a patriot to support those that are in need. Also talking about the Ball family, talked about the NFL. Many of you don't know, you know now, the NBA started preseason tonight. That's going off right now. And before I got a half hour left on the show, and I might just dedicate the whole half hour to the Los Angeles Rams. You'll see I'm in colors today, and tonight I'm in my colors because if you're a Ram fan right about now, you got to be excited. Tell me, if you're a Ram fan, how can you not be excited? The Rams are 3-1. Who thought the Rams would be 3-1 after 4 games? And who would think that not only would they be 3-1, but the highest scoring team in the NFL to date right now? They're averaging just over 36 points a game. The Rams are doing something that no one, yours truly, had no clue. I saw a special with Eric Dickerson. And you know what happened with Eric last year? Eric had no clue that this team would be as potent as it is today. And here's the thing. I see with their schedule that they have a chance of doing something truly dynamic, man. The Rams have a chance at being one of the best teams in the NFC. And here's the funny thing. We were talking about this summer, if you were listening into the show. When the Rams won their first Super Bowl, they were 2-14 the year before. Now, last year, 3-13. We were 4-12 last year. So, you start thinking, could this be that year? Could this be the year where we get a complete turnaround from the Los Angeles Rams? And it's probably, one of the important weekends is probably this weekend right here, because the Rams are home this weekend to the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm going to tell you, there are 2 things that have to happen this week. One is they have to control the clock, because Seattle has always been a great takeaway. team. They generally make you make mistakes, take it. They get pick sixes, they get interceptions, a lot of fumble recoveries. But the Rams over the past 2 years have had the Seahawks number. So if everything stays as consistent as it's been for the past 2 years, there's a great likelihood the Rams are going to win this game this weekend, putting them at 4-1 and Seattle at 3-2, and that's our conference nemesis right now. We know we got our upper hand on the San Francisco 49ers, and the Cardinals are sitting back there at 2-2 as well. But to get to 4-1 and Seattle's at 2-3 could be a great positive for the Rams. But here's the thing. I want to talk to you. The one other big issue that the Rams have to resolve this weekend, and I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to see or hear Todd Gurley on the radio this past week. He was pleading to fans this week that you got to support this team. And I guess I'm here right now saying the same thing. Guys, we had football away from Los Angeles for literally 2 decades. We've got them back in town, and we've got a very good, solid team right now. And here's the best part about this team today. They're young. This is a young nucleus with the youngest football coach, Sean McVay. The 32-year-old wonder is what I'm calling him right now. He's got this team playing with belief. If there was one thing you could talk about the Rams last year, about week 6 or 7, I think they doubted themselves. And Jeff Fisher didn't make it any better. So they get rid of Jeff mid-season, finish the season off. They hire the youngest coach, and they hire him for one major important thing only, to help Jared Goff become an NFL quarterback. And not just an NFL quarterback, but a competitive NFL quarterback. And Sean, I have to tell you right now, you're doing your job 200%. Not only has he brought Todd Gurley into the offense in a completely different dimension, but Todd Gurley is back to running like the Todd Gurley that was our number 1 draft pick 3 years ago out of Georgia. He's jumping folks. He's running with reckless abandon. And that's what you have to do when you're a running back in the National Football League. You got to make plays happen. And you make them happen with your athleticism. And Todd is demonstrating some great athleticism right now that's far and above, putting him up towards the top of the running back list right now. He'll be back in the Pro Bowl this year if he keeps up at the pace that he's doing right now. But more importantly, we got to make sure we have fans in the stand. 3 weeks ago, so that everybody knows, not even 3 weeks ago, it was 2 weeks ago, the Rams, out of the 85,000 Coliseum seating, the Rams generated 56,500 some change, okay? And at the same time, the Los Angeles Chargers were only able to bring in 18,000. That same weekend, of course, USC had about 85,000 in the stadium, and don't even want to talk about the, I think, 90-plus thousand that was at the UCLA over at the Rose Bowl. So the big question that's centering around Los Angeles right now is the support going to come behind this team? And we know that once you win, they will come. But right now is just as important, because when you're sitting here not selling 60,000 seats, that was always the blackout number. For most NFL leagues, for NFL teams in the National Football League, 60,000 is the blackout number. Most teams will sell 60,000 before they even have to even think about their season seats. Those tickets are gone. We're not doing that in Los Angeles. And like Todd said, we're at that point right now. We need the support of our fans. And so that's a big thing that's kind of circling around Los Angeles right now. Are the Rams going to be able to keep the fans interested in the game? And on top of that, I might as well mention it because it's something that's also going to be prevalent in this discussion is the protest hindering the showing up of fans? And yes, I tell people all the time, there's so much that we can be happy for, the jobs that has been created by the National Football League, the entertainment value that's been brought back to the city. But is this protest and the kneeling and the standing, and I'm going to be honest, at this point in time, I don't know what they're standing, kneeling, it's kind of gotten a little lost. And I've got something else I'm going to talk to you about also, of course, that's got lost over the last 2 days. And I don't know if it's been a blessing or not. And I know I'm not going to say something stupid like it's been a blessing for him, but in essence, it actually has been. I'll tell you about that just after I get done talking about these fans coming to Los Angeles. But we are in need to see these fans come out and support this team. The team's 3-1 right now. We've had the number of Seattle for the past 2 years. We swept them last year, and 2 years ago we swept them. So for the last 4 outings, we've been able to put it on the Seattle Seahawks. Let's see people show up in Groves this week and do what's necessary to keep this team on a positive track. They're doing what they're supposed to do on the field. Let the fans get in the stands and do what we're supposed to do as fans. Support our home team. And that is the Los Angeles Rams. Guys, I said this at the beginning of the season. I'm going to be shocked if the Chargers can really make an impact in Los Angeles. And right now at 0-4, the Chargers aren't making any impact in Los Angeles. And as I said earlier this summer, the team that gets out of the gate the quickest will gather those fans. So I'll be shocked. I won't be shocked, I should say. Not I will be, but I won't be shocked this weekend if I only see, if the Chargers' next home game, I only see 18 or 17,000. Because you're going to start to see a lot of people who are on the fence migrating back into the Coliseum, because it's the one thing about LA that's been prevalent not only on football but in the basketball world as well. They like winners. Winning is the number one thing of importance to the Los Angeles fans. We got a lot of entertainment, but we want winners. And right now, that's what the Rams are for us this year. They are the winning team. So let's get out in Groves and support this winning team as the Rams are 3-1. They take on the Seattle Seahawks this Sunday. I'll be at the game. So will a lot of other people. Let's get out and support the Rams as they try and put that number and notch up another win, go to 4-1. As I said, you're listening to the Rams. Oh, I'm about to give you something a little different, but you're listening to the Legends Community Show here on the Power of Voices. I'm your host, Greg Bell. Hey, guys, I'm going to bring up something that I probably shouldn't, but I can't help but bring it up because it's like silent news right now. Of course, we've talked about the protests. Of course, we've talked about what's going on in Las Vegas. And there is a gentleman in Las Vegas who got released from prison after 9 years. And it's amazing. It's amazing, but I understand why it's amazing. But with the shooting in Las Vegas and all the craziness talking about Trump and Puerto Rico and everything that's coming out of Donald's mouth and everything that's happening with the protests, most people forgot. And who cares, to be honest, but most people forgot that O.J. Simpson got released on Sunday night Sunday morning at 12:01 a.m. I don't know if that's the time that they let people out of jail, but O.J. came out of jail on Sunday morning. And at the same time that O.J. was coming out of jail, the press was releasing the fact that such a heinous crime had been committed in Las Vegas. And there's just so much that I don't know how you even think about it, but you got to talk about the fact that this guy has been the center of media for the past 2 decades. And I don't know if this is, I know people don't care, but let's face it, he's going to come back into the news. And it's hilarious because the state of Florida, as he was being released, was saying, we don't want him. The AG, the Attorney General for the state of Florida, basically has sent Las Vegas a letter stating to them, do not send him here. We don't want to waste our hard-earned money on this murderer. And it's kind of funny she brought up the fact that he's a murderer, even though, of course, that's a civil murder. But what do you think? How does that really translate? I mean, I never thought about that because right now I thought he was considered a citizen of Florida because that was his last residence. So how does the Attorney General basically say, we don't want him here? And, I kind of consulted with some attorneys and tried to figure out the exact thing was going on. And what I was told was this, uh, because he will be using Florida money, they can say whether they want him to come or not come. You know, it's one of those situations where Florida has the final say as to whether he gets to come or doesn't get to come. But of course, in the end, it becomes a situation where, you know, you got to allow the man to live and do what he wants to do. And from what I'm hearing, they just don't want to let him back into the state of Florida. What are your views on that? Should he have the right to go back to Florida? Should he have to spend his time in Las Vegas and spend out his term? You know, I don't know what the number of years of parole that he has to be on, but I'm sure it's not a 1 year parole. But of course, he wants to go back to Florida. And it's just hilarious that while everything has been going on, and we've been sitting here and we've been talking about the heinousness of what's happened in Las Vegas, OJ kind of slipped out of the back door, and nobody actually knew he was out on parole. And we knew it was going to happen at some point in the equation here. But it's just amazing how, you know, he came out, no one really talked about it. And that's kind of the, I guess I hate to use the word, the benefit of great, you know, being the media giant that it is. The news of the shooting was so great that one of the greatest stories of the last 2 decades kind of slipped out, and none of us kind of noticed that he basically went on his parole. Kind of shocking, but he actually pulled a sneaker. I don't know how you can think about that, but he's out, he's walking around on his own. I got to assume he's wearing a boot, got an electronic collar on his ankle or something, but he's still in Las Vegas. Not sure when he'll leave Las Vegas or even if he will leave Las Vegas. But it's amazing how one crisis can take it just captivates the world. At one point, it was the hurricane. Now it's the shooting. And over the past 2 decades, of course, it's been Orenthal James Simpson, OJ. And of course, OJ now is free man. He's walking the streets of Las Vegas. I'm sure so many people probably were saying, why didn't he go to the country western concert that evening? But, you know, it is what it is, guys. You're listening to the Legends Community Show here on thepowerofvoices.com. Just wanted to touch base. Oh, Steve tells me he wants to come home and live with his fans and family. That's the most amazing part about the OJ trial, I guess, in Las Vegas. At the end, the person who put him in jail was the one testifying for him. So, Steve, you're right when you say he wants to come home and live with his friends, because at least we know he got one friend. He was an enemy before the trial, and he became a friend during the trial, and he's back to being friends today. Just amazing when you think of this, the history of that trial, all the people who were friends, weren't friends, this or that. It's just amazing when you think about it. But so many of us were captivated, and we watched the documentaries, we watched the trial. It's just, like I said, it's just amazing how just tragedies take our mind away from things that captivated us. I mean, most people a week ago were, they were captivated on the fact that OJ was going to be released in a week. And then 59 people, a mass shooting, largest in the U.S. history. It takes our mind away from everything. Donald Trump had a trip planned to Puerto Rico, still made it. But it's amazing how quickly he's going to make it to Las Vegas. And I wish he would have probably been on that plane a little sooner when he went out to Puerto Rico. And I got to tell you, if y'all need to hear him today, man, if it was anyone else, we would be ridiculed for some of the things that come out of our mouth. But I don't know if any of you guys got a kick out of it, because I got a kick out of it today. I was joking with some of my friends. Donald Trump, with the mayor of Puerto Rico sitting right next to him, said to her, or said to the people of Puerto Rico, not just to her, Puerto Rico has cost the United States a lot of money, but it's okay because we're saving lives. I'm sorry. I don't know who's writing his acceptance speeches. I don't know who's tweeting for him. I know one thing. I would love to see him do what Obama did, which was turn in his phone. Because Donald tweets some of the craziest things that I've ever read on Twitter. And then, how do you stand in front of a country, a state in your country, and you say to them, "You have spent a lot of our money. Y'all owe us a lot of money, but it's okay because we're saving lives." Donald, Donald, Donald. Somebody's got to sit with him a little bit. And guys, I'm not going to be here hating on him. I'm not going to be here supporting on him. I'm just going to be a neutral bystander when we come to Donald Trump because I don't know what he's doing. I don't know where we're going. I'm just hoping that we come together. And I know one thing because of this act of terrorism that we definitely see in Las Vegas, the country here are showing the patriots that we truly are. Everybody's coming together to help those in need in Las Vegas. Yes, indeed. Donald Trump. He's he's something else. That's all I can tell you. Guys, you're listening to the Legends Community Show here on the powerofvoices.com. Want to get back to the NFL. Got a few more games I want to kind of go over, see what you guys thought about the Monday night game. And I'll tell you, the Monday night game was, for me, just another game. You know, and I don't know about many of you guys. I love football more than anything on earth. I love the game. But you tell me, you know, as a kid growing up, Friday nights was about the kids. The high school, that was their night. Saturday was about the college. Sunday was about the pros. I kind of get burnt out. I don't know about you, but this week I did get burnt out on football. I had the chance to watch some football games. I came home, went to see my old high school football. So I'm watching high school football. Of course, got up first thing in the morning, saw probably 3 or 4 college games while I was back here on the East Coast. Then on Sunday, saw another 3 or 4 games. And by the time Monday came around, guys, my wheels had spun on football. We got so much football Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you even got games on Wednesday and some on Tuesday with the Division II teams. I know I love football, but this is one of those times when I can do it without as much football. Guys, if you're Yankee fans, of course, Yankees bottom of the third, Minnesota 4, Yankees 4. Oh man, that's a series that's going to decide the AL lead. So come on, Yankees. You know I'm a Yankee fan, so I'm going to cheer for them. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Here's a shock for me. Baltimore for years has been one of the toughest defensive teams in the National Football League. For whatever it's worth, this isn't the Baltimore Ravens team that we've been accustomed to. They lose 26-9 to Pittsburgh, and I'm going to tell you what, it wasn't even close. This is one of those games where you just sit there and say to yourself, oh my God. You know, Pittsburgh is showing themselves to be one of the better teams in the AFC. And on top of Pittsburgh being one of the better teams, how many of you guys actually saw this game? Houston 57, Tennessee 14. Mariota goes down, looks like a pulled hamstring, might be sidelined for a little bit. They've signed a replacement quarterback. But not Deshaun Kaiser, but the quarterback for the Houston Gamblers. I'm sorry, folks. I'm just rolling here with all my history of NFL, AFL, World League football. But the Houston Titans and Deshaun Watson, former Clemson quarterback, has the day to remember. 5 touchdown passes against the Titans. They rolled. I mean, they rolled. 25 of 34, 283 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, and 4 in the air. This kid is actually trying to put himself into a class of his own, rookie of the year. And DeAndre Hopkins, 10 receptions, 107 yards. This Houston team looks viable. Houston, of course, is 2-2. Tennessee as well is 2-2. But the more Watson performs at this high level, the better this team is going to be. We already know about their defense. J.J. Watt, of course, you know, raised over $30 million for the hurricane relief in Houston. And I've heard about a few teams, and just so when I'm talking about J.J. Watt, I wanted to make sure I talk about a couple of the NFL teams because I've heard some reports that they've already cut checks to Las Vegas. So hats off to some of those NFL teams that are also showing that patriotism as well because trust me, guys, there's going to be a lot of need for capital in Las Vegas as well as the Hurricanes that we have in Puerto Rico and in Houston as well. But Deshaun Watson, here's a guy who was the number one pick in the draft last year. So many people question whether that was a pick that needed to be selected. He's showing the kind of quarterback he can be. And with the defense that they have with J.J. Watt and Clowney and the group that they have assembled in Houston, this team is going to be a force in the AFC. It's actually pretty good for the AFC because coming into the season, most of the dominant teams were in the NFC, and all we had was the New England Patriots. But now the Patriots are looking beatable, and a lot of AFC teams, the Houston team, the Pittsburghs, they're all starting to rise to the occasions. And I'm nothing against the Buffalo Bills, guys. You know that I started my career in Buffalo, so I do have ties to Buffalo, but I don't see this Buffalo team being able to sustain themselves where they are right now. It's great they're 3-1 right now, but will they be able to sustain themselves there? Personally, I don't think so. Arizona, still tough in the NFC. They down their conference, one of their conference rivals in San Francisco, 18-15. And of course, as I said to you earlier, the Los Angeles Chargers fall 0-4 as they lose to the Philadelphia Eagles 26-24. And if you're a Charger fan, how mad are you at this point? Because you're almost like that basketball team that continues to lose the last shot buzzer, or they're losing more games. All four of the games, let me just say it as it is, have been by 2 points or 1 point. They are fighting all the way to the end, playing good football. But whether it's a kick, wide left, wide right, or block, or the fact that they just get outscored at the end, this Charger team is 0-4, and they're looking for something to change the course of their direction these last, getting to the second quarter of the season. New York Giants continue to tumble. They're 0-4 as well. Got a lot of 0-4 teams right now as they fall to Tampa Bay 25-23. And the questions are going to start to swirl. Is Eli still capable of performing at a high level? Because right now he's hitting the turf just as much as Tom Brady's hitting the turf. Now, the game for me that I got to discuss before we spend any more time is my Raiders. I told y'all guys coming into the season with Derek Carr at the helm, the Oakland Raiders were probably the best team in the AFC. That was my belief going into the season. It's still my belief after the first quarter of the season. Unfortunately, Derek Carr is out for the next 2 to 8 weeks, and that's a killer for the Raider and for the Raider Nation. Denver beats the Raiders 16-10, and guys, if you're a Raider fan right now, what are you thinking? Where's your mindset about right now? Is this team going to be able to bounce back? Can EJ Manuel actually provide the leadership necessary to get this team to the next level? Because right now he looks like EJ from Buffalo Bills. He keeps throwing a lot of picks and nothing the bad ill-advised throws too. But here we are, first 4 games of the season. The Raiders are 2-2. They had something to build on, but literally they were shut down by probably one of the best defenses in the National Football League, the Denver Broncos. That is their strong suit. But what do you do if you're the Raiders and you just see your leader go down again for 2 to 8 weeks? He fractured his back, something that Cam Newton played with last year. It took Cam about 3 weeks of just getting through the pain. But if you're a Raider fan right now, what are you thinking? Can you rebound strong enough to be competitive until Derek Carr comes back? Because I'm telling you, with Derek Carr in their lineup, they're one of the best teams in the National Football League. Without him, we saw what they were. He came off the bench. He got hurt last year. First round game, they lose to a lesser team that they would have beaten by 2 touchdowns had Derek Carr been there. So here we are back again in a situation where Derek Carr, this is a team leader. He's been there and he's done a great job for the Raiders since he's been the quarterback. And now we've lost him for 2 to 8 weeks. Can the Raiders afford to split those? We're talking potentially, going 4-4 or worse. If the Raiders lose 5 or 6 games, are they going to make the playoffs this year? I'm speaking on behalf of just somebody taking a shot at it. They won't make the playoffs unless they can go 13-3. I think they're in a conference with Kansas City, with Denver, and the Raiders. It's the toughest division in the National Football League, bar none. And a 13-3 makes playoff. An 11-5 will not make it. So if you're the Raiders, you got to be concerned right about now. You got to be, trying to say to yourself, and I don't know if you start saying this self bad enough that maybe they would look at a Colin Kaepernick, but I doubt it. I think at this point in the equation, Colin's career is kind of be on hiatus. It's going to be on hold until we can kind of move beyond it or have more conversations about the protest that he was trying to do in the first place. Because, with everything that's circling, the protest now is going to be a backseat. We got things that are sometimes more important than the call sometimes. And no, it's not a call that will be forgotten, but it's one that might have to go on the back burners until we deal with what, of course, we're dealing with in Las Vegas right about now. Guys, you're listening to the Power of Voices. This is the Legends Community Show. I'm your host, Greg Bell. And if you didn't catch it in earlier, we talked about some of the things that are going on as a league, as well as what's going on here in our United States. You can ask anything you want, Steve. Steve's asking, can he ask anything about my career? Go right ahead. That's what I'm here for. But wanted to talk about the Las Vegas shooting before we get out of here one last time. As I said on the air here earlier, this is one of those situations where true patriotism really is shown itself. We got a lot of heroes that are being unsung heroes, and I think our hearts should pour out to them and be able to say thank you to so many people who have helped others in Las Vegas. It's just a hideous thing that happened. And the one thing I kind of asked everyone to do is to sit back, relax, be patient. Don't do a lot of finger pointing. Let's allow the police to do their job, which I think they will do admirably. And I think they'll find that everything that they're trying to get detected and get solved, it'll take some time, but allow them to solve it without making a political issue out of it. We all know that it's part of our Constitution. Everything right now that seems that we're talking about is about constitutional rights. And I think if you really look at it strictly as constitutional rights, this guy did everything constitutionally that he was supposed to do. But it's just, I think for me, the most amazing part is that I've been to Las Vegas numerous times. And sometimes when things are suspicious, they're just that, suspicious. I've actually worked for a casino in California. So I know when we're in the camera rooms and we're looking at the security tape, sometimes things just become somewhat suspicious. And when they become suspicious, that's when you have to go go ask questions. And so, yeah, Steve, you're correct. I'm sorry to put a hesitation in there, but Steve made a great point. There's so many selfless helpers in the wake of this horrible domestic terrorist. But like I said, when you see things on camera that are suspicious, it just takes one person to say, "Hey, does that look right to you?" And ask questions. And I gotta think 10 large duffel bags that the guy refused to allow people to touch is somewhat suspicious in Las Vegas, because generally when you hire a bell guy, you let him take everything up, set everything down, and after a while you think that they would see that, isn't there something funny about all this stuff we're carrying up to this guy's room, and he checked in a couple days ago? I don't know. That's just me talking, and that's hindsight. What can I say for the Las Vegas security at the Mandalay Bay? I'm not sitting in front of the cameras. None of us are. What might be suspicious to me might just be what it is. Carrying a black bag up to up to the rooms. But guys, before I get out of here, I just wanted to say one last thing. Keep everyone in Las Vegas in your prayers. Something we have to do. Something we got to do. They're sitting there. Some people haven't even found out whether their loved ones were there or not. Because not everybody was accounted for at this point in time. They're still identifying a lot of the people. But I tell everybody at this point, say a major prayer for those people who are still in surgery. We're at 59, as they say, and counting. We wanted to stop the count right about now. Hopefully, the next week when I'm coming, I can say that it didn't grow from the 59. Like I told you, I had two people from Santa Barbara that were actually injured in the shooting, and we're still. I know one was lost from that from the four that actually were in the shooting. That is it for this week of the Legends Community Show. I'm your host, Greg Bell. Guys, tune in to me next week, and we'll talk more sports and talk a little bit more as well. Signing out. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.